Dance with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight float. Championship belt wrapped around my waist, yo. I got that Ric Flair figure float. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat flow. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor.
Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up, friends? Welcome to another installment of the Professor's Semanalmente. Which again, for you marks, just means weekly. So this is my weekly headline show, all the news, world news, entertainment, sports that you can get your mind wrapped around. I will give you all the headlines in an hour, and we will get you out of here for that big playoff game tonight. The NFL playoffs rolling awesomely through the weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that later. For now, though, as always, make sure you're subscribed at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS, where you can stay up to date with all of our live streams and all the videos that I upload. So you get this one on a weekly basis. Also, the Bottom Line Sports. We will be live tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then Thursday of this week, we will also have Clubber D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special for UFC 311. So it's going to be a good week coming up of some weekly shows. And as well, we've got some new things on the horizon, still working on Storyline Sports with my boy Detroit Mel from IOW Sports. Shout out to him and the rest of the IOW crew, Wildcard, and the rest of them boys. As well, got a new coming out called Total Evisceration. Total Evisceration. What is that? What is that, Omar? Stay tuned. I got something good in the works for ya. Holla at my partner working on that with me. Anyways, all right, let's kick this bad boy off. I see y'all piling in, so make sure you hit that like button, the up thumb. Give me a little heart, give me a laugh, whatever it is. Help us out in the algorithm. Share this video so others can see it as well. All right, well, first of all, obviously the biggest news right now going on in America are the wildfires that are raging in LA. So as of today, the death toll from the Los Angeles wildfires have risen to 24 over the weekend, with more than 10,000 structures inside the city, inside the city's metro area that are damaged or destroyed. So officials are still going house to house and unfortunately still looking for people who may not have been found yet and may be no longer with us and needed to be found and their bodies found and everything for their family's sake and all that. They're saying that there's still people out there like that, so the death toll is expected to rise, sadly. So obviously prayers to all those people who lost their houses, those who lost their lives, the families who lost anyone in these tragedies. And it's just, I mean, look, this is probably the worst one I can remember, and they say it's going to be the costliest. Now, that can go up with cost of inflation every year, but it has seemed to be the worst one that I can remember in my lifetime, at least. And they still don't completely have a handle on it. There's two primary fires. One is the Palisades fire to the west. The other is the Eaton fire on the city's east side. As of today, the Palisades fire was a little over 30% contained, while the Eaton fire, is only around 15% contained. So that just means like they've got a lot of work they got to do. And not only that, but now they've got another round of the Santa Ana winds coming in over the next 2 days, which is obviously going to make it harder and possibly spread the fires and probably spread the fires even further, because the wind obviously carries the embers, which then light more things on fire. So obviously there's a lot of different takes on why this is happening. If you're on the internet, I always give you the social media side of things, since that's what I teach. On X, you got the right wingers, the conservatives saying, oh, they're blaming it on Gavin Newsom and all the policies he had, and there's a bunch of, again, as I always tell y'all, don't believe everything you hear. You gotta dig deeper into some of the things that you hear, and I'm not going to get into all that because that's not what this show is about. You can research that on your own. But what we do know is that some of this, obviously, is, and I'm not saying all of it, but some of it is attributed, obviously, to climate change, because of the fact that with these Santa Ana winds, with the fact that these fires can start haphazardly and other things like that, with other things that are happening within the atmosphere that can cause things to be more volatile, like our tornadoes and our hurricanes and things like that. So, and again, I am no climate change activist, as I told you last week. I'm not here to say, oh, we gotta fix everything. I realize that most of the problems from this probably won't happen in our lifetime, but it is still something that is happening, and it's clear when things like this happen that there is at least an issue that needs to be attended to. The other part of that is a lot of people are saying, well, a lot of these people in Malibu, Santa Monica, they're rich, they're celebrities, they can afford to rebuild, and even if they are celebrities and they happen to have a certain amount more of money than most people, does not still take away from the fact that when you lose a home, you lose memories. Me and my mother were talking about this earlier today, because she was like, it's just so sad that a lot of those people are just going to lose all their memories, the pictures and everything that they'll lose from where you've made your house a home. So it's obviously very sad in that way, and obviously from the loss of life. But it's something that I believe at this point in time, even though we did mention climate change is getting worse, at this point in time, I mean, we've been dealing with wildfires as far back as I can remember in my life. And I see all the planes out there, the helicopters dropping the water, all that good stuff. But it seems at this point, with all the technology we have, and I need to talk to my firefighting buddy. I should have, my boy. Hey, Diaz, what's good, baby? I should have brought him on. He's a firefighter, and he probably could have answered a bunch of these questions for us. I'll have to reach out to him and get his opinion on it. I meant to do it this past weekend. But anyways, it seems to me that in 2025, there should be some more ways to either prevent and then contain when it does happen. Because obviously it can happen without a gender reveal or a birthday party or someone setting off fireworks. It doesn't always have to be human related, but there should be containment measures that are stronger than what it seems like. And I get it, man. We're using planes, Boeing 737s, dropping water and stuff like that. And again, I'm no expert. I need to talk to an expert about this. But it seems like after a week or maybe even a week and a half, it's been going on now, and they're not even a quarter of the way contained. That's problematic. That's horrible, because it's obviously going to happen again at some point. It's not like this doesn't happen every few years. So then if it is going to happen again, is it going to be worse even next time? There's all the not even just climate change people, but also, people who make predictions and things like that. The water is going to overtake, California, Florida, other places like that. My mom was telling me all about that earlier, and I've heard about that before. And it could happen depending how high the seas rise, over the next 20, 30 years. I could definitely see it happening. I don't know that that it's going to be that drastic, but we're definitely going to see something like that. So we definitely need to start to have some better containment measures and prevention measures. Again, I don't live there, so I don't know completely, but apparently there were issues with brush not being cleared. And look, we're not going to get started, especially on this program, about DEI and all that nonsense. Okay, because that doesn't take away from training your people. That's just a cop out. Now, obviously, some things have gone wrong. That there needs to be better training on the front end, and again, better things that can help them in the future to be able to contain that, so we don't have and don't experience the loss of life, that we've experienced, and again, the loss of houses and things like that, which again is a big deal to a lot of people if you're going to lose all of your stuff. So again, prayers up to them. Hopefully that will get better here over the next little bit. But moving on, again, prayers up to everybody there. Moving on, Dunkin Donuts has apparently run out of donuts in some shops here in the United States, in Nebraska, New Mexico, Arizona, due to a manufacturing error. But the weird part about this is that they were still able to sell donut holes in some of the stores, which raises questions about where these donut holes, where are they born? What are they made of? Is it extra lying around dough? What are we doing here? So you don't have donuts, but you can scrounge up off the floor some donut. And I'm not saying Dunkin' Donuts would do that. I like Dunkin' Donuts. I do. I like Dunkin' Donuts. I actually like their coffee over Starbucks. So I'll definitely get Dunkin' over Starbucks. But what are we doing here? You run out of donuts? Literally in the name, Dunkin' Donuts. It's like KFC running out of chicken, which I have heard has happened before too. Like how? How? It's your main business model. The product is in your name. That's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. You should always have backup donuts on hand. I don't care how much you've sold. Get it together, Dunkin' Donuts. Get it together. Senate confirmation hearings this week for Trump's nominees. I thought, and when we get, I'm going to have our political analyst, political insider, Amul Madan on here in the next couple of weeks to talk about this. But I thought that the nominees would not actually begin the Senate conference. I thought that they didn't happen until after the president was actually inaugurated, which is not till the 20th, but apparently they're going to begin this week, which, okay, I guess they moved them earlier, but that just seems to be kind of weird since the president isn't even in yet. That being said, among those scheduled for President-elect Trump's top nominees are Doug Burgum for Department of Interior, Pete Hegseth, the much maligned, for Department of Defense. I'm not going to get into anybody's personal issues or personal vices because we all have our personal issues and personal vices, and I'm not here to disparage the man's name. What I'm here to say is he's just not equipped for the department to lead the Department of Defense. Just because you were on combat duty and you served some tours overseas does not make you properly equipped to lead the whole entire armed forces. And that would be my only issue with that, especially the fact that he's just been away from that sort of thing. He's from the military in general for so long, but then not even being a part of the Department of Defense or on the government side just makes me a little skeptical about how much can be messed up when you have that much control and you don't actually have the experience. Same with Kash Patel and the FBI director. Same thing there. Doesn't really have the expertise needed to be an FBI director, so kind of worried about that one as well. But we'll see what happens. Again, at this point in President-elect Trump's second term, I'm giving him leeway in hopes that it will be a better term than the first one was. Marco Rubio for Secretary of State and Kristi Noem for Homeland Security. So again, wishing them the best. I hope they can do good for this country, and we'll see what happens. Speaking of Donald Trump, a couple more points of news here. Special counsel Jack Smith has resigned from the Department of Justice. You will remember Jack Smith was the counsel that brought up Trump over charges of election interference and the mishandling of classified documents. You will also remember that I mentioned that I thought that these cases should have been thrown out. I thought he had enough time to litigate and adjudicate these cases and had enough time to properly charge and have this taken to trial if he really had his foot on the gas or if he wanted to. But it seemed like he slow played the whole thing. Maybe he just wanted to have his name out there, get a bigger profile. I don't know. But at this point, now that he's president-elect, you can just take that somewhere else. That ain't gonna work. You got to get rid of those charges. Which brings me to the other story. President-elect Donald Trump was sentenced to an unconditional discharge for the other counts. So you'll remember we said that it was possible if he was charged with these 34 felony counts of falsifying business records, that he would be the first president elected that would also be a convicted felon. Came back, and I agree with this decision, that Trump will face no jail time, fines, or any penalties in connection with that. It's an unconditional discharge, basically free to go on your way sort of thing. Do I agree with what he did in falsifying business records? No. But again, if you really wanted to get him convicted on these things, you had years to do it, and you didn't. So you know what? That's your own fault. Got to let it go. He's being elected president. It should be with a clean slate. Cool. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hey, salute my brother Skywalker. Shout out Skywalker Boxing Media. Y'all make sure you tap in with them. And also Country Box. Oliver McCall will be back next week. And then a special, I know they did a special announcement for Mr. Witherspoon coming back on the 4th. So that should be pretty awesome. I plan on being there. So shout out to y'all. Make sure y'all hit that like button. And thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're also subscribed to Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. You see it on the shirt. You see it on the QR code up top. You can go ahead and scan that. Hit the link. Just scan that and go to the link rather, and that'll take you to our link tree where we got all our social medias. Cool. All right, moving on to world news. So first of all, I want to mention this is the opening of India's Maha Kumbh Mela festival. So shout out to the people of India. Which will be touted as one of the largest gatherings in history. One of the largest gatherings in history. Listen to this. A projected 400 million visitors will participate in this pilgrimage over the next 6 weeks. Officials have set up a temporary 10,000-acre city with 150,000 tents, 3,000 kitchens, and 99 parking lots. The Hindu pilgrimage occurs once every 3 years at a rotation of 4 traditional sites, with the most sacred occasion taking place in formerly what was Allahabad and is now Prayagraj, in the country's most populous state, Uttar Pradesh, which is every 12 years it goes back there. Remember, it's 3 years at a rotation of 4 different sites. Anyways, so there will be not only religious conferences and talks with leaders, but they'll also have vendors there, selling all sorts of goods. They'll have the river there, the Ganges River, where people will be able to go in and wash off their sins, and all of that good stuff. So shout out to them. Hey, that's pretty cool that they can have 400 million visitors over 6 weeks. That's wild. And that's really what caught my attention here, was just how many people would be involved. So, hey, that's pretty cool. All right, moving on. Israel has now sent David Barnea, who is the director of the country's Mossad intelligence service, which is their intel. They've sent him to Qatar to join the Gaza ceasefire talks. So a lot of information coming out about this. There are Gaza ceasefire talks going on right now. Hopefully, we will be able to get that solved. They are also releasing, I believe it was 34 hostages they announced today. So that will be happening. And as well, we've heard, well, there's a little information I didn't put in this show because I thought that it was a little too deep of the information that you really didn't need. But the Ukraine-Russia war is still happening at a rapid pace. And although they've talked about ending it, it doesn't seem like there is as close to an end as there will be for possibly what's happening in Gaza. So that's hopefully we can get a ceasefire there soon, because obviously that doesn't just affect the people over there, that affects our country as Israel is our ally, and we have to defend them. So, and it's kind of like Ukraine. So it's kind of when they're involved in something, or one of our allies are involved in something, we are inherently involved in that. And we have too many problems in our own damn country to need to be involved in anything else, to be completely honest, if you want my personal expert opinion. And it is an expert opinion. That's why you come here. Nicolas Maduro was sworn in for his third term as the Venezuelan leader. Some call him a dictator. The majority of people call him a dictator. And he was sworn in despite evidence that he actually lost the July election by a landslide. So after he was elected, obviously a little suspicious, since a lot of people are, and I'm not going to disparage the country of Venezuela. It's a wonderful country. Their people are wonderful as well. But there obviously are some people that try to leave because of, as they do in any Spanish country that has a dictator as a leader or has a communist as a leader, they try to leave, right, to find a better place to live, usually United States. So there was evidence that he actually lost the election in a landslide. And so following the inauguration, the Biden administration raised the arrest bounty, because there was a bounty out by the U.S. For him to be arrested. And they have now imposed new sanctions. So obviously, we here in the United States and other allies of ours support the opposition candidate, Edmundo Gonzalez. And so we'll see what happens there, but that's pretty crazy. He was still sworn in, but that is what a strong man can do. And I don't mean a strong man like, oh, he's a strong man. A strong man as in kind of like a dictator term. They are able to get things done like that because they have so much power over subordinates, over the country, in terms of fear and other things like that. So we'll keep you updated. Finally, if you've heard, Donald Trump was trying to acquire Greenland. At one point, a few years ago, even trying to trade Puerto Rico for Greenland, which, you know what? I'm not going to get started on that. Can't believe he even thought of that. But anyways, he did express interest in purchasing Greenland. Well, Denmark actually sent private messages to Donald Trump expressing not a willingness to sell, but a willingness to have an increased U.S. military presence. So one of the reasons that President-elect Donald Trump wanted Greenland in the first place was to be able to have military protection and a base upon the North Arctic Circle corridor. Actually makes sense if you think about it. While kind of ludicrous to think about someone buying a country at this point in time in like the 1800s, they are willing to allow us to place military troops and possibly a base or two over there in order to be able to address not only our security concerns, but obviously they get protection from that as well. So clearly that would be something that they would be interested in. So we'll keep you updated, but that's crazy that they, well, I mean, it's not crazy. Like I said, they definitely want the protection. But I did like how it said they sent him a private message. I wonder if that was like a DM. They sent him an IG DM. Did they send him a they send him a message on his true social platform? I don't know. I'm not sure. But anyways, again, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed at Ballin' Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Let's go ahead and move into the entertainment portion of our show. As you know, we have been talking a lot about a TikTok ban. Yes, I've talked about this story 3 times now on this show. It's probably the most talked about story we've had on this show. TikTok will be banned starting this Sunday, barring an 11th hour sale to a U.S. buyer, or if the Supreme Court changes their mind. But just this past Friday, the Supreme Court justices indicated that they would enforce the ban, expressing concern that the Chinese government could use the data of millions of Americans gathered by the app, because the parent company is called ByteDance, and they are located in China. Obviously, if you watch this show, you know I agree with this. I do believe for information security purposes, InfoSec purposes, they should be required to sell their U.S. portion. But a lot of people are going to be very upset because a lot of people use TikTok as their life's work for content creation, for selling products. It's a huge search engine now, as I've mentioned before. So we will see what happens. But as of now, unless someone swoops in at the last minute, TikTok will be banned from any U.S. stores or access on internet browsers. But people are not on TikTok yet, and you want to be on there, they will still, or the people who already have the app downloaded to their phone will still be able to use it. Yeah, how long that will last, I don't know. That's temporary. If you already have the app, you're grandfathered in, so you don't have to worry about losing access right away. But at some point, it's probably still going to happen. For those of you who don't have it, if you want to be on it, you might want to get on there before Sunday, because then they take it out of all the stores and you can't access it on internet browsers after the 19th. So, pretty crazy. I figured that the Supreme Court would rule this way, but I also thought that we would have already had a buyer by now, and that the Chinese parent company ByteDance would have already sold. So the fact that we've gotten this close to a date that it could possibly be a ban is yeah, that blows my mind a little bit. I really thought that this would have been solved by now. There is one buyer out there. If you've ever watched Shark Tank, investor Kevin O'Leary says he has enough of him and his investor buddies to be able to buy TikTok. So I don't know. I don't actually know what the valuation of that would be. I assume it's in the B's of billions of dollars. Actually, I know it's in the billions of dollars, but since it's the U.S. portion only, it's probably going to be less. So I don't know what it would actually be to buy that. But Kevin O'Leary says he would just need Donald Trump to help him finalize the sale, which will require the Supreme Court to pause the law before January 19th and require ByteDance to sign off. Again, why does this matter? Because in the United States alone, TikTok is used by at least 33% of adults and over 50% of teens, meaning that it would ban communications on that platform for millions. And again, you'll have a certain period of time where you'll be able to still use the app, but that's not going to be forever. So I think it'll get sold. I think a U.S. company will buy it. I don't know if it's going to happen by the deadline now since we're so close, but I do think that a U.S. company will buy that portion. I thought it would have been like Microsoft or something like that already, but we'll see. Anyways, moving on. Speaking of social media, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, trying to get into the good graces of Donald Trump, has announced that he will be eliminating all of the fact-checking on Meta, and instead Facebook will now move to a community notes type system, which is employed by X or Twitter. After Elon Musk bought it, he got rid of the professional fact checkers. Community notes are when other users on the platform actually check you. So if you see somebody that posts something, you're like, nah, that's not correct. You community note them and you just check them and you put whatever the right thing is. Now, obviously, people can use that to be deceitful. So you've got to be careful even when you're reading those things. But it hasn't been much worse, they say, than when they actually had the professional fact checkers. Excuse me. On X specifically, the share of notes rated as helpful has been falling consistently to 7% in November. But another study showed that the community notes work just as well as professional fact checkers. Now, I would hesitate to believe that completely, but as I am a big X user, because that's where I get most of my news and promote shows and stuff like that, I think that the community notes are helpful in a sense where if someone is trying to spread disinformation, there's always going to be someone on the other side of you, and they're going to want to come in and correct that, and usually they won't try to be deceitful. Well, I can't say that, not usually, but you would hope that they would not try to be deceitful, as obviously they could get checked themselves. But what's really going to hurt here is that when X first employed this, a lot of advertisers dropped out and stopped advertising on the platform because they were worried that their ads would show up in the same feeds as controversial topics and things like that, which as someone who has run thousands and thousands of social media ads, I understand this quite well. And so Meta's business is ads. Meta's whole business is ads. Actually, as of the third quarter of last year, ads accounted for 98% of their total revenue. $40.6 billion. It's true. I've run so many Facebook ads out the wazoo for so many clients. I can tell you that clients spend a boatload of money on that platform selling ads and have no problem doing it. Even smaller companies. I remember I had a small healthcare company and they sold like prosthetics and things like that. And I was running their account and they were going 10,000 per month on ads. Just popping them out like they got money growing off trees. And maybe they did. They were selling their products for a lot. So, hey, you sell a couple products, you can pay for the ads. But still, that's how they keep everything going at Meta. So if they were to lose a bunch of advertisers like X did, that could definitely hurt them much more than it did when Elon Musk bought the X platform. So just something to let you know, but be on the lookout for that. Social media getting a little hectic out there. All right. 2025, a couple quick notes here. First of all, due to the wildfires that we talked about earlier in LA, the 2025 Grammy Awards, which are scheduled for February 2nd, face a possible postponement. Now, that is still 3 weeks away, so it's possible that they still could go on. But right now, that's not looking very likely. So I'll keep you updated on that. Apple antitrust lawsuit begins today in the United Kingdom. What is this, you ask? Well, Apple, obviously the tech giant, faces claims that it charges excessive fees on App Store downloads. And now they're facing up to $1.8 billion in fines. Is this true, my Apple users? Y'all know me. If you're my friend, if you've known each other, you know I'm an Android user all the way. Android all day. Through Apple. I don't like any Apple products, but I know most of the world, I get it. Most of the world uses Apple. Y'all can be sheep. Bah, bah, sheep. You're all sheeple. Anyways, by the way, you didn't know Apple uses Samsung's operating system hardware anyway, so you're really just using a Samsung with a nice coat of paint on it, like a person driving a Lexus and thinking they better than a Toyota, when a Lexus is just a Toyota with the Lexus name on it. Anyways, off my high horse, Apple will face up to $1.8 billion in charges in the UK. So we will see what happens there, as always. The professor will keep you updated. That's why you come here. That's why we got so many people right now watching the live stream. I thank you so much. Before we move on to sports, though, I do want to send a rest in power out to Sam Moore. Yes, Sam Moore, half of the soul duo, Sam and Dave. Yes, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. Rest in power. He died at the age of 89 this past weekend. Lived a long life. I love old school music. When I was at the University of Maryland, shout out my alumnus, shout out Terps. I was there this weekend. They put a whooping on my Bruins. It was bad. I was wearing my Bruins hat. I was laughed at by a bunch of Maryland friends around me. But anyways, when I was at the University of Maryland, amazing school, loved going there. I actually studied, one of my classes was history of rock and roll. It was actually history of music, but a lot of it involved rock and roll. I shouldn't have said rock and roll. It had everything. It had hip hop, jazz. It went all the way back to the 1800s and went all the way up to now, and it just went through every genre of music. It was probably one of my favorite classes I've ever had in my life. And the teacher, she was really cool. Like, she was like I don't want to say she was a hippie chick. She probably wasn't a hippie, but she was just mad chill. And she loved music, and we just listened to music most of the class. And then so it'd be awesome because, like, you're studying for a test, but really all you're doing is just listening to music to study for the test. So it's like, what? This is the most amazing studying I've ever done in my life. Why didn't I take classes like this before? I should have taken more music classes when I was in school. You know what I mean? But anyways, they were part of that dynamic duo, Sam and Dave. They released 5 albums. Probably the most famous that you will know of is "Hold On, I'm Coming," which actually was number 1 on the R&B charts back in 1966. Also, in 66, they released "Double Dynamite," which came in ranked at number 7. And then in 1967, they released their 3rd album, which came in at number 5 on the R&B charts. So, as you can see, in their first 3 years, they dropped 3 albums that were in the top 10 of the R&B charts. So, pretty good run there. Obviously, they were not around forever. They ended up breaking up, as most bands back in the day were wont to do. And honestly, if you didn't break up as a band back in the day, like before, I mean, even now they still do, but it used to be more common, like in the 80s and before. If you didn't, you weren't in a real band, probably. You probably were. Even the Beatles broke up. Pink Floyd broke up. Come on, I mean, if you didn't break up, you probably weren't in a real band. But anyways, yeah, probably the song you would know most too would be the "Hold On, I'm Coming" song. I can't play it here for copyright reasons, but you can go look it up. It's an amazing song. Rest in power, Sam Moore from Sam and Dave. All right, moving on to sports. Before we get you out of here for the evening, we got the big NFL playoff game tonight. Yes, first, let's get into a couple quick hitters. Tiger Woods will make his debut in his Tiger Golf League, indoor golf league on Tuesday. So what is this? If you've heard me talk about it on the bottom line, I've talked about it a couple times. This is a new golf league called the TGL, where they play indoors, and it's going to be played. They'll have greens and they'll have tee boxes, but the rest of it will be played with screens. So like a huge arcade, you think of it. So they have like 100-foot screens. They'll have crowds, live studio audiences, and they'll be hitting the ball off of real tees, and they'll putt on real greens, but everything else will be hit into screens. Think about like a virtual reality Top Golf sort of thing. I think it's a pretty cool idea. They're trying to bring golf to the younger generation. I think it could work. I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't have Tiger Woods out there the first episode. If you're going to have a golf league and your main protagonist is going to be Tiger Woods, he should probably be out there the first time y'all play a match. And they had one last week and he wasn't. Just seemed a little off to me and a missed opportunity. Either way, look for him tomorrow night. Also, over the weekend, OSU, the Ohio State University, before the Ohio State friends get upset with me. The Ohio State University topped Hot Take Jake's Texas Longhorns. Texas with a money sign. 28-14, and they will take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Wow, I just did Irish and Spanish somehow. I'm not sure how I did that. The Fighting Irish, Shout out, Buster. I know you out there, Buster. You don't watch the show, but shout out my boy. He loves them from Notre Dame. They will play in the national championship next week. And obviously, as fans of this program, I know you'll be watching me next week before the game. So I'll lead you right into the national championship on January 20th. All right, let's move into our power rankings before we talk NFL playoffs and get you out of here for the evening. First of all, women's college basketball top 25. You already know my Lady Bruins, UCLA, still on top, still undefeated, 16 wins, 0 losses, 8 clap for my Bruins. Let's go. At number 2, South Carolina, Lady Gamecocks, 16-1. At number 3, the aforementioned Notre Dame. This time it is the Lady Fighting Irish at 14 wins, 2 losses. At number 4, FUSC at 16 wins, 1 losses. You know we do not like the Trojan condoms on this program. At number 5, the Louisiana State LSU Lady Tigers, 18 wins, 0 losses. Playing against Vanderbilt tonight, where I taught at for a few years. So shout out to Vandy, the Commodores. Hopefully y'all can go and get an upset there tonight. And then obviously I can't forget my alma mater. Yes, I am a UCLA fan, first and foremost, always, because I have been since I was a kid. And I didn't go to Maryland until I was in my mid-20s. And so, yes, I will support my alma mater, but I always root for UCLA first. But got to give my alma mater a shout out. The Maryland Lady Terrapins at 15-1 at the number 8 spot. By the way, there is you know what? I'm not going to do that today. It's not the right spot, but I will talk about it in a couple weeks. I was going to go to the game, Lady Bruins. I was going to come on the 26th to come see you there in Maryland. But unfortunately, my brother I was going to go with will not be able to attend because he has a wedding to go to the night before. And so I decided I'm instead going to go back to Nashville early because Oliver McCall is fighting a country box next week, and I want to get that interview with him and with Mai Del Sando. So I'll be back for that next week. So we'll not be able to go visit and watch that game, which should be one of the most amazing games in women's college basketball in years. Moving on to men's college basketball, your top 25 rankings. Tennessee, who was your number 1 team. Those Volunteers got absolutely walloped, boat raced, suffering succotash. They lost by 30 points to Florida. It was not good, and they dropped 5 spots. Auburn takes over as your number 1 team, but the problem is that they lost their main star and who was on track to be the college player of the year, Johnny Brome. Or it might be Broom. I apologize, sir, if I said that incorrectly. But was on track to be the player of the year, now has a injured ankle and will be out. Thankfully, won't need surgery, but will be out. I believe it was 6 to 8 weeks. So that's a bummer for them. But Bruce Pearl's a great coach, so he'll probably be able to carry them on there. At number 2, Iowa State. The Cyclones, 14-1. The Duke Blue Devils at number 3, 14 wins, 2 losses. At number 4, the Alabama Crimson Tide, 14 wins, 2 losses. And the aforementioned Florida Gators beating Tennessee move into the number 5 spot, 15 wins, 1 loss. All right. Now, moving into our NHL power rankings for the week. Hockey is still going strong, y'all. Vegas Golden Knights at the top, 28 wins, 9 losses, 3 draws. They're just rolling along there in Vegas, and they have a really, really strong team. And even though they've lost 7 pieces since their 2023 championship, they've done nothing but continue to win. So hey, shout out to them. At number 2, the Winnipeg Jets, 28 wins, 12 losses, and 2 draws. They've got the best goalie in the league, y'all. Connor Hellebuck is the best goalie in the league. He's on track to possibly win his second Vezina trophy in a row, which is the best goaltender in the league. And so he's really the power and the force behind how good they've been this year. Speaking of power and forces, the Washington Capitals here in the DMV, 27 wins, 10 losses, 4 draws. Alex Ovechkin is back after missing 16 games, and he has not stopped scoring. He came back, got right back into the groove with a goal in his first couple games back, and now he is 23 goals behind the great one, Wayne Gretzky, for the most goals ever in National Hockey League history. They have a half season to go. So, again, he still needs about a goal every 2 games to break the record. Minnesota Wild at number 4, 26 wins, 11 losses, and 4 ties. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs at number 5, 27 wins, 13 losses, and 2 draws. Moving into our NBA power rankings, our number 1 team is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Yes, they lost last night, had their 11-game win streak broken, but they should be number 1 after I told y'all last week the only team that's had 2 over 10-game win streaks this year. They are awesome, and they deserve to be the number 1 team with a 33-win, 5-loss record. At number 2, the Oklahoma City Thunder, another amazing team on a roll, 32 wins, 6 losses. They are your number 2 ranked team. At number 3, you already know who it is. It is my Boston Celtics, 28 wins, 11 losses. At number 4, the Houston Rockets, 25 wins, 12 losses. And then rounding out the top 5 are the Memphis Grizzlies. Wow, the surprising, or as Flo might call them, risky Grizzlies are at number 5 with 25 wins and 14 losses. Now, as fans of this program, as watchers of maybe this program, The Bottom Line, any other program where I talk sports and especially basketball, you will know that I always harp on offensive and defensive efficiency ratings, and that in order to be a serious championship contender, to me, you have to be ranked in the top 10 of both offensive and defensive efficiency. Now, is that always hold true? No. If you go back and look at since 2000, there have been multiple times that a team has been ranked outside the top 10. But there's also usually extenuating circumstances due to that, injuries to star players, and other things like that. But needless to say, all of these teams that I mentioned in the top 5 rank in the top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency rating, except the Houston Rockets, and they're at number 11 in offense. So all 5 of these teams, to me, right now are legitimate Super Bowl, legitimate NBA championship contenders. So that's going to be pretty awesome. Now, obviously, we did talk about the college football championships being next week. Again, remember that will be the 20th. I will go on live and lead y'all into the national championship game next Monday. So make sure you join me at 7 p.m. Eastern time next week on Monday as well. Bottom Line Sports tomorrow night at 8 p.m. and Clever D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So watch all those shows. Make sure you're subscribed at Ball and Buds, BALLAND PUDS. Hit that like button for me and share this video. Ohio State is the overwhelming favorite, 3-1, 7 out of every 10, almost 70%, 69% to be exact. Giggity. I really hope my mom was not paying attention at that point in time. But anyways, I cracked myself up. Moving on to NFL playoffs, we'll talk more about the college next week. Like I said, I'll be going live before the game. For the NFL playoffs, let's go ahead and look at the official playoff bracket. Let me go ahead and bring that up here to you on a share screen. Boom. All right, so you'll see here we do have our playoff bracket updated for the game for this evening. So this past weekend, we did see Houston defeat the LA Chargers 32-12. Houston pretty much just took everyone, because everyone had the Chargers winning this game, saying that the Texans had been underperforming all year long. Houston just made a mockery of all of us. They're not going to do that with Kansas City, most likely, especially coming off a bye week, as Andy Reid is probably the best coach in history coming off of bye weeks. But you'll hear more of my analysis tomorrow night on the Bottom Line Sports. Well, I will also give you my pick for these games. Little teaser there. I'm not going to do it tonight, so that way you'll tune in tomorrow night. But yeah, the 10-7 Houston Texans will take on the 15-2 Kansas City Chiefs. That game will actually be the first game Saturday at 4:30 Eastern on ABC. And then we have the Saturday night game at 8 p.m. will be the Commanders at the Lions. So over here we have our 12-5 here representing the DMV, the Washington Commanders, winning their first playoff game since 2005. I know that our NFL insider, Shane Peacher, is super happy today. I talked to a bunch of other Redskins fans that told me how happy they were. But their first win since 2005, y'all, 20 years ago. Commanders playing with house money, get to go into Detroit and maybe pull off an upset. It would be amazing for this town and for this city. So we'll see what happens there. But that will be your Saturday night game. Moving into your Sunday afternoon game, it will be the winner of tonight's game facing off against the Eagles. The Eagles beat the Packers this past week, as you can see, 22-10. Pretty easy game for the Eagles. The Packers just did not play up to snubs. Up to snubs. I don't know what that means. Up to par, maybe. But they will play, Philadelphia will play the winner of tonight's game, who I will give you my pick in just a second. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, Washington beat Tampa Bay 23-20. And this was another bad game for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay blew a couple of games down the stretch. First, Bucky Irving had a bad fumble a few games ago, which almost cost them a playoff spot. Not that play specifically, but that play was the microcosm in the end of the game. So that's what everybody looked at. But now it happened again. Baker Mayfield, crucial fumble on the last drive, able to turn it over. Washington was able to doink the field goal off the crossbar. By the way, shout out to the NFL for putting the extra microphones inside the the crossbars so that you can hear it all the way to space. Like, why could they hear it all the way around the stadium? I don't think it needs to be that loud, but it's tremendous because it just makes it that much more embarrassing, especially if you miss it. Wasn't embarrassing for Washington, though, because Zane Gonzalez got lucky and it doinked in. All right, and then moving on to the Sunday night game, probably going to be the best game of the four in most people's eyes, because you have the two favored MVP candidates going up against each other. You got the Ravens at the Bills Saturday at 6:30 p.m. I will be back in Nashville for this, resting in the comfort of my own home, watching this amazing game. Buffalo steamrolled an overmatched Denver team. Take that hot take, Jake. If you're watching Champ Ross and all you, Brent Mount, you know who you are, Mount Kiss, and all you other Broncos bums fans, the ponies, The ponies are going fishing, baby. Can ponies fish? Probably not, because they don't got posable thumbs. But the ponies are going fishing anyways. I told Hot Take Jake he better book his ticket to Cancun to go meet his boys, Bo Nix to fix. Maybe he can fix you up a plate of tilapia after y'all are catching it off the boat, off the side of Cancun, hungover because you ain't doing nothing in the NFL playoffs. Screw the Broncos. All right. As a Raiders fan, you can see how excited I get at the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Chargers' demise. So now I'm still looking for the Chiefs and the Chargers to go down at some point. Let's go. Moving into our last game, which is on here in just about 15 minutes. The Minnesota Rams versus the The Minnesota Vikings versus the Los Angeles Wowzers. Hey, Thanos Heisenberg, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate that. We appreciate the support here. Yes, I did choose the Chargers. Now, the funny part about this is, my friend, that I was the one on the bottom line caping for the Chargers all year long. I was like, look, CJ Stroud is good. The Chargers have a great defense. They got good young pieces, Mixon, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. And it just didn't happen for them. I'm still not going to say they're a bad team. Their offensive line wasn't healthy the first 5 weeks. Nico Collins was injured the first 5 weeks. Joe Mixon was injured the first 4 weeks. Tank Dell was injured most of the season and ended up breaking his leg again. Prayers up to him. Their defense did not perform up to the standard that they did the year before, but they still had good young pieces, Derek Stingley, Will Anderson, who both came out and performed this weekend. So I thought with the way that they had performed all year, even though I had caped for the Texans all year, I thought that Jim Harbaugh had put together a good Chargers team. I thought that, and since they had been winning, later in the year, they started to get more flow into their game. Justin Herbert started to become a better passer. We can't say anything about that, man. Come on. I mean, we got to admit, he only had 3 interceptions all season long. Yes, he had a horrible game. He had 4 interceptions, but not all of them were his fault. Receivers were dropping balls. There were other things happening. Either way, a person that only throws 3 interceptions all season long, you have a bad game at the most inopportune time. I agree with that, like Flo said on the bottom line, but I'm not counting Justin Herbert out, and I still think that the Chargers, had a good enough team to win that game. Now they got their butts whooped. They got thoroughly destroyed again due to the offense of the Chargers not playing up to snuff. Due to Justin Herbert having a bad game. He did have a bad game. I can't admit that, but I'm not ready to write him off. I still think he has the talent. He's still a top 10 quarterback in my eyes. I believe that just this year, he had a year where he was trying to learn Harbaugh's system. I believe next year they will be more well ingratiated, and I believe that they will have a even better season next year. And I believe Jim Harbaugh finally wins a championship with this team after missing out with Clubber D's Niners. Shout out to Clubber D and my boy as well, our baseball insider, Michael Weeby. How's it going, my brother? Hope you are doing all right. Yeah, I did whiff on that, and I whiffed on your Commanders, my brother. I did. I picked the Buccaneers to win by 3. I thought at home for the Buccaneers it would be a shootout, and I thought that the Buccaneers would win a close game. But I did think that the Commanders had a chance. So, hey, hats off to y'all. That's awesome. I'm obviously happy for you and all of my other friends that are, Commanders fans. I don't cheer for the Commanders, or I still hope that you don't win the championship, but I can be happy for you for now. But anyways, but I think I went, I was 4. Those were the 2 games I got wrong. Well, there's still 1 game to go. So I'm 3-2 right now. So we'll see what happens with tonight. That being said, let me give you my pick for this evening. Yesterday, if you were on our Sunday surge for the Bottom Line Sports, we picked this game. I have the Vikings winning this game. If the Rams, Hot Take Jake pointed this out, and it was a really good point that he put there. Since the game has been moved from LA to Arizona at Glendale Stadium where the Cardinals play because of the wildfires, the Rams no longer have a home field advantage. Not that they really had one anyways, because we know most of those stadiums are where a lot of other fans want to go and visit the city, tourists. It's going to be a lot of opposing fans, things like that. We know that, which only solidified my pick. I had the Vikings anyways in a 3-point game, but now that I was reminded by him that they were moving the game, I definitely am taking the Vikings. Yes, I think Sam Darnold did turn back into a pumpkin last week. Yes, I do believe he continues to struggle this week, but I also believe that they have a more complete team and that they can win a team game if Darnold can just game manage and not throw too many interceptions. Now, again, I've been calling for the pumpkin on Darnold all year long. I've been calling for him to go pumpkin mode, and and he did go pumpkin mode last week, and I think he will continue pumpkin mode. But again, I believe that he has a complete team around him, and I think that the Minnesota Vikings win this game, a 3-point game. I'm going to go 27-24 Minnesota Vikings. And yeah, you're right. You're right. Weeby, you're right. If you have Jaden, you have a chance. I completely agree with you. I mean, it's pretty obvious at this point, if you watch the NFL, that you can't win without a quarterback. We've seen teams that they get changed around just getting a quarterback. Look at here, we're talking about Jaden Daniels, but also look at the Denver Broncos. Yeah, I shitted on them earlier, but Bo Nix did turn them around. They only had 5 wins last year. And they had the same team pretty much. Now, granted, they had a horrible coach in Brandon Staley, and Jim Harbaugh has proved to be a much better coach than Brandon Staley, but they had the same team last year. So, clearly, right, having a quarterback helps. Having a quarterback can change your team around. So, a Jaden Daniels, a Bo Nix, and actually, I stand corrected. The Broncos won 8 games last year. It was the Chargers I was thinking about, the 1-5 that I was talking about them. The Broncos actually won 8 last year, but they still had a 2-game win improvement. So, yeah, and that's why I'm waiting for. I know that the Raiders just need that quarterback, that rookie quarterback. We just need it to happen, and we screwed ourselves this year. I'm still pissed about it. We completely screwed ourselves to win a couple games for no reason, and yeah, we cost ourselves possibly both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. Now, we may also at the 6th spot still possibly one of them could drop. Shedeur is probably going to be the one that would if he did. But yeah, it's sad that we may not get that quarterback this year. Now, I have already copyrighted the March for Arch, because if not, we're marching for Arch Manning, baby. Let's go. The March for Arch, and we are moving for Gruden, baby. Bring back John Gruden. Bring back Chucky, baby. Yes. All the Raiders fans want you back. There are no rules that say you can't come back. Come back to us. We had a playoff team when you were here, and now we don't. We need you back in our lives. Chucky, please come back. I never thought I would say that to a person that has the nickname of a murdering doll from a horror movie. But, hey, Chucky, we love you. Please come back, John Gruden, please. All right. Before we get out of here, in other coaching news, the Cowboys have royally screwed this up, and the reason I bring them up is not to necessarily razz on the Cowboys, although I do. The Bottom Line Sports tune in tomorrow night at 8 p.m. With Flo, who is a Cowboys fan, and I'm definitely going to bring this up to him tomorrow. And also, my dad is a Cowboys fan, so he can catch this work right now too. Do y'all remember when everybody used to make fun of Al Davis in his latter years when he was getting a little older, and they were like, "Oh, he's always drafting the fastest wide receivers because he wants to move my mic. He's always drafting the fastest wide receivers because he wants to, field the fastest guys on the team. He's not up to date with the the new NFL or the updated NFL. He's still living in the past. This, that, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Get it? Not gonna lie, couple picks out there. Darius Darius Hayward Bay from my alma mater. Love you, brother. That was a horrible pick. I remember Clubber D actually called me. I was on the road and I almost drove my truck over an embankment because I was so pissed off. I was banging the steering wheel because we had just drafted DHB at number 6 when he wasn't even a first-round pick. So clearly, and may he rest in power, love me some Al Davis. Best owner of any sports team I've had until Steve Cohen now of the Mets. Love you, Al. Miss you. Rest in power. But yeah, he did make a couple of possibly decisions that maybe wouldn't have been made at that point in time by the majority of GMs, owners, coaches, stuff like that. Get it. Agreed. Cool. When are we going to start saying Jerry Jones is getting there? When are we going to start saying that Jerry Jones is probably a little too old for this game no more? So you mean to tell me, Jerry Jones, that not only, and I went off about this plenty of times on the bottom line, not only did you not sign Dak twice in a fashionable manner, and you ended up having to pay more. You did the same thing with CeeDee Lamb, ended up having to pay more because you want to wait instead of paying him when you already know you're going to pay him. You're going to have to do the same thing with Micah Parsons. Now, you indicate that you wanted Mike McCarthy back no more than a week ago. You had indicated that in an interview. And because you couldn't reach an agreement on the number of years, you decide to get rid of a coach. And granted, they had a down year this year, yes, but they had a lot of injury. When you don't have your starting quarterback and your starting receiver for part of the year, you're automatically going to be probably out of the playoffs, to say the least, unless you have a good backup, which most teams don't. So I can give McCarthy a pass on this season. And I would have if I was in Jerry Jones' shoes. And I think that he should have. Because now you're getting rid of a coach who in the past few years was winning 12, 13 games a season and taking you to the playoffs. That's not the end of it. Not only did he screw up the Dak Prescott signing, not once, but twice. Not only did he screw up the CeeDee Lamb signing, not only has he proactively screwed up the future Micah Parsons signing, but now he screwed himself out of a top-level coach who has proven that he can run the Cowboys system, not going to put up a fight against Jerry talking in the media, is going to be able to coach the team of players that they currently have constructed on the roster. No. That's not all, y'all. That's not all. Apparently, Jerry Jones needs to start taking some fish oil. Come on, brother, take some fish oil. I need you to get that memory right. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one less bourbon per night. I don't even know if you drink. I would assume most billionaires drink, but I don't know. But what I do know is that he missed the deadline to apply to interview both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, the offensive and defensive coordinators for the Lions. So he tried to go get the interview with them, missed the deadline to apply, and now has to wait until after the Lions season is over to try to get an interview with him. Meanwhile, the Las Vegas Raiders, and I usually call him Tom Shady because they're part of the New England scams and cheaters that won all those titles. But now that he's actually part owner of my favorite football team, I may have to stop calling him Tom Shady. I may have to actually call him like TB something, just because I like my team and I don't want to disrespect him just in case I ever have a chance to be a part of the owner of the Raiders, which hopefully I do one day. Right? So I'm not trying to burn any bridges. I may have to stop calling him Tom Shady, even though they did cheat to win the majority of championships that they won. Him and Bill Belichick. I'm not going to stop calling Bill Belichick. because he's still a cheater in my eyes. So maybe it was all Bill Belichick. Maybe it wasn't all. Either way, look, Tom, let's have a serious discussion here, sir. So far, I've only heard good things on your job performance. Yes, you got rid of AP and Tom Telesco because apparently you did not appreciate the way that they were taking the team. But I do like how you've already been able to woo a Ben Johnson type. Because in the past, Ben Johnson and those type of hot coordinators would not have paid a lick of attention to the Raiders because we had a horrible team, because we didn't have good financial situation, anything like that. But now, with the influx of capital, Tom Brady's an investor. Well, I just called him Tom Brady for the first time. Wow. He's an investor. You've got, I believe it's called, actually, I don't want to say, I'm thinking the wrong capital firm, but they have a capital investment firm coming in to invest millions of dollars. So now they actually have money. TB, which is why I think I'll start calling him TB. That way I don't have to say his full name and feel like I'm going to throw up in my mouth every time. But at the same time, I'm respecting him, so I'm not burning the bridges of the future. TB was able to woo Ben Johnson and secure an interview. Something would have never happened in previous years. So even if we don't hire him as the coach, the fact that we were even able to get him in the room is a testament to the influence and pull and power that TB Tom Brady has. And actually, I just figured I had to say his name because algorithmic purposes. Yeah. Hey, thank you, mother. I love you. Shout out for always supporting. I appreciate that. And the sound check. She's my technical director, y'all. My mom. She makes sure she's been checking every show to make sure I sound good before I go on. So when I go back to Nashville next week, I'm not going to have her be able to check, but maybe we'll do some long distance technical directing. That being said, y'all, thank you as always for tuning in. What a great show we had today. Thank you for tuning into the Professor's Semanalmente. I am your host, Omar, the Professor Fonseca. Again, please make sure you subscribe to Ballin' Buds. BALLANDBUDS. You see it right here on the t-shirt. And you also see the QR code up top. If you go up to that QR code, you scan your phone on it, it'll take you to our link tree. At that link, you will be able to find all our social media. You'll be able to subscribe to our YouTube. You'll be able to follow us on Instagram or X and Twitter. You'll also be able to follow Clubber D on TikTok and all that good stuff. So go ahead and scan that QR code and make sure, at the very least, you subscribe on YouTube because that's where we released all our videos. Instagram, we do all our promos too, so if you want to stay updated. And then as well, make sure you catch us this week, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern at the Bottom Line Sports. You can also join the Bottom Line Sports Facebook group or watch it on Ballin' Buds. And then Thursday night at 8 p.m. as well, Clubber D, the Combat G's Combat Sports Special for UFC 311. Again, hit that like button if you're watching. Even after the show is over, it still helps within the algorithm. Make sure you share this with all your friends. And make sure you share Ballin' Buds. I appreciate you all, as always, tuning in. As always, make sure you go out and be your best. Be kind to each other. And spread love the Omar way. Holla! 5,000.
He's with the millions.
It's that world heavyweight flow. Championship belt wrapped around my waist. Yo, I got that Ric Flair figure flow. Slam you on the pavement, that's why they call me Street Pro. Create heat on beat close. Like Jordan after the second time he three-peated, folks. Get ready, set, let's go. Fight toe to toe, release the flow created by this mic pro. Lights, camera, get low. Action packed, back to back. In fact, this monster will grow. Y'all better let him know. Man with the master plan, and you have no need to know. You came prepared, now get ready for the show.
Sports Professor.